I'm going to try to make this be productive and not just a bunch of my depressed ramblings in the middle of the night. This was always bigger than any one person. The things that are going on in the world, in America, were always bigger than any one person. And I had a youthful optimism that my actions, through enough perseverance, were going to be able to build up something that could make some meaningful throw. What I mean by that, I thought that eventually if I just organized hard enough for long enough, that I would be able to make a big enough difference that there would be a future for people like me in America. I don't see that being the case. There is still a lot of work to be done. It doesn't mean that I or anyone else should give up, but the types of energy that you're expending, the types of effort that you're putting into the world should not be based around 10-year plans, 20-year plans, electoral plans. It should be based around community building. It should be based around immediate things of helping your neighbors. Real talk for a second. I feel like I am cursed with the gift of prophecy. I feel that there is going to be a genocide in America. I feel that there is going to be a culling of the poor in one way or another. And my biggest fear, the thing that I feel will be most likely to come about, is that despite this abject suffering, people will not take away anything from it. People will not learn from it. And when it comes to things like recessions or depressions, when it comes to catastrophes, they don't serve as the impetus for a bunch of people rising up and having some cultural revolution or anything like that. It just means that a lot of people suffer, and a lot of people will become downtrodden and end up doing whatever they have to do to survive. And I fear and I believe that that is what is coming for America, at least for large swaths of it. I think that a lot of these ineffective forms of activism that come from Americans that are focused around displays of your held beliefs, that are centered around electoralism, I think it comes from a place of a self-centered worldview. I think it comes from a worldview driven by American exceptionalism and the belief that there must be something inherently special about America that makes it different from all other countries, that means that we're going to grow and be stronger after moments of crisis. I'm not so sure about that. I wouldn't stake your hopes for the future on that. I talk to friends of mine that are trans, that are really into technology, computers. I talk to people that are really into guns, and people that have so many things which in a better society they could use to contribute to the world in a pretty amazing and impactful way. And it's like reading through No Passaran. You learn about the fall of the Second Spanish Republic. And history is cruel. History does not have a sense of justice about it. And I don't think people should be placing their hopes in the future on some idealistic, like, envisionment of what America is. Oh, who's a good... He's the sweetest boy. He's the sweetest boy that's ever lived. I am making a last stand for myself in America. I'm going to stay here as long as I can. I pray that I can weather out some storm and maybe stay here. But this country is rough. It's very violent, and it's a very dangerous place to be. Should I talk about Jonathan Joss? I remember when I was a year and a half younger, recording a video, stoned off my ass on my porch, crying, asking how they could kill Next Benedict. And I saw the way that the police covered it up. A 14-year-old Oklahoman, Native American, trans boy, beaten until he couldn't stand by his classmates, and dying of an apparent brain bleed the following morning. And it keeps happening. In one form or another, it keeps happening. And what can I say? What can I say? Obviously, it doesn't help anyone. Obviously, it doesn't help anyone. Obviously, it makes society worse. Obviously, it makes everyone collectively poorer for the absence of people whose lives are taken just because they're different. And I don't know what to do. The old people want to live in their fantasy of how they want the world to be working out. Everybody's guilty of this to some extent, even people that are younger. But people don't want to know. People don't want to learn anything a lot of the time. And I think when we're talking about a socialist or progressive or libertarian kind of push to be making in society, can we build it up? Do we have the juice? Can we go out and convince people? That's an open question. That's an open question. Is it possible outside of a city like New York, where the thing driving that election is a bunch of highly educated people? You know, the average person's been denied an education, has so many different conflicting political beliefs and opinions that don't mesh with each other at all. And how do you give people the idea that they're smart? How do you give people the feeling that they're learning something? It's tough. It just is. I had this realization in 2022 that we weren't going to be able to save everyone. And I've had this realization more recently that we aren't even going to be able to save all that many people. My roommate, Lucina, that lived with me for a number of months, is out on her own. She has moved in with her boyfriend. She's doing well. And I'm glad that I was able to help. But the government is still denying her papers. There's a limit to the things we're able to do. We're living in historically important times. We're living in certainly very interesting times where things change and things are volatile. But history is not always remembered, and history is often not taught in the way that best reflects the actual driving forces behind the historical events. You look at what America did in Korea immediately after the Third Reich had been toppled, only 4 years after, killing 1 million Koreans. And how do you look at that and not see a genocide? Do Americans remember it? No. Americans do not. I'm troubled. I'm troubled. Are we going to learn anything? Truly. Are we going to learn anything from this? I don't know. The best that you can do is to keep yourself and your friends alive and as thriving as is possible. But yeah, the realization that this is bigger than me sunk in a few weeks ago. That this is bigger than me, that this has always been bigger than me, and that the idea of a 19-year-old that she could do something that truly mattered and would in some way alter, serve as an inflection point for the course of events, you know. Laughably short-sighted. But at least I had that fire in me, you know? And I feel like people do need to keep that fire in them. Don't be defeatist. But wow, it's hard not to be defeatist. The old people aren't going to learn anything unless you make them. And you need to keep yourself safe. You need to keep yourself independent. You need to not let yourself or your friends get complacent or fall into the convenient lies that everybody crafts for themselves as they get older to make peace with the world that they're living in. You have to keep that kind of flame in you of wanting radical change, of saying that there needs to be a new world. But you do need to recognize that there are forces way beyond you that are controlling the circumstances that you organize or work under. And I have no clue how to reckon with them. That's not what this video is about. I wish you guys the best. I wish you to stay safe during Pride. I urge all of you to arm yourselves if you feel safe while you're able to do it. And I urge all of you to build community systems of resiliency, to make sure that people that are vulnerable are protected, and that you're doing the best you can to be a good neighbor and be a good human while we all have the opportunity to be.